Hello, my name is Corey Clater and I would like to welcome you to the Clater House. Today we are continuing on the built-in project that I started in my last video. We'll be adding some finishing paneling to the sides of our cabinetry, adding shiplap to our wall behind the desk, building the desktop, adding face frames. We're finally making our cabinet boxes look like cabinets, and we're starting to get an idea of what our end design is going to look like in real life. Now, in my last video, I introduced the project a little bit and went over the design. I built our cabinet boxes and got them hung on the wall. If you missed that one, you can catch it here because in today's video, as I said, we're finally making our cabinet boxes look like cabinets, and we're starting to get an idea of what the end design is actually gonna look like. It was also during this process that I encountered or created my biggest regret of the entire project. Now that it's done, it's been months since it's been styled and finished, and this is still my biggest regret. I hate it so much, and I will touch on that when we get there. But before we jump in, I want to remind everybody that I am not a contractor, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a builder, I'm none of those things. I'm an interior designer. This video is meant for inspiration and entertainment. If you are going to build anything of your own or use any tools, please do your own research and take all safety precautions. I don't want anyone to get hurt. With that being said, let's jump in. So I'm starting with my end panels for my box end covers to cover any seams. Like there's a seam up here where the top cabinet and the bottom would meet. To cover all of that and make it one solid piece, I'm gonna put 1/4 inch plywood on either side of this, and then also on the inside of here, because of where we joined it here, there's some seams along the sides on the inside of the bottom. So I'm gonna be adding on these boxes here, these smaller cabinets, a 1/4 inch panel on both sides of this guy. As you can see here, on the inside, there's a lot of seams on the edge. So that's why I'm doing it, even though it's facing the inside, this sticks out like 6 inches further than this cabinet does. So down at the bottom, you'll see that unless I cover it up with a panel. So I'm gonna cover that up with a 1/4 inch on the inside to make sure the thickness is even on both sides for the face frames. So I'm gonna go cut those and then come back and put those on here. Using my jigsaw, I cut out the panels for the smaller cabinets on the floor, and I also cut the length for the taller side panels. To get the width for my side panels, I then ran them through my table saw. I followed this up by double checking my measurement and cutting off any excess that I may have needed to. And a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. To attach my panels to my cabinet boxes, I applied a construction adhesive, liquid nails, to the panel, and then clamped the panel to my cabinet before going in with 5/8 inch brad nails to hold it in place while the adhesive cured. Undercover agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond all. So now I just have a nice smooth side instead of all of these seams down here. I do have some nail holes to fill. Even though this side is already smooth, when I go to do the base frames, now the sides of these, the thickness is different. This is now 1 inch, whereas this is a 3/4 inch. So I'm gonna go in and make sure that this is 1 inch. That way my base frame hangs over the same on both sides on the inside. So that's what I'm doing on this side, even though I don't really need to. Tiptoes, undercover agents of the other. So I actually had to go in and add some extra little pieces here and do the inside of this with a panel of, well, a couple of mismatched panels of 1/4 inch plywood. I didn't realize, but when I put this up against, this was gonna be here and it was gonna like mess up my face framing situation. So I just went in and added a couple pieces of 1/4 inch panel here. So now I can attach these so then my face frame will be even all the way down. I'm starting with the shiplap. This is a 5 1/4 inch shiplap. I got 2 different lengths of boards. So these boards, the primed boards, were 8 foot that I cut the distance between the desktop and the ceiling. I got 4 of these, and then I have 12 foot pieces, same width, 5 1/4, unprimed boards. I have 9 of these. So these will go in the center, that'll run from floor to ceiling. Our ceilings are 9 feet high. The reason these are unprimed and the other is primed is because at the hardware store online, it said that there were the 12 foot, it said there were some in stock last night, but when we went today, they did not have any of the 12 foot primed, at least that I could find, and they were really busy and I didn't want to ask anybody, and these were right next to them, and they were $1 or $2 cheaper. So I just got these. I have primer, I'll prime some of these knots and stuff. I'll wood fill. I'm gonna have to do wood fill anyway from the nail holes. So I just got the unprimed and then the primed of the other. So they, at the store, they didn't have primed these, and then they didn't have unprimed the raw board like this of the 8 foot. Now here's where that big regret comes in. These raw wood shiplap boards are the absolute worst. They were warped. They had so many knots in them. They did not fit together very well because, like, in addition to being warped, like, some of them were bowed out, some of them were twisted, some of them were curved. Like, the gaps were not even. They were a pain in the butt to paint. They weren't flat on the front because, like I said, some of them were bowed, and they were bowed at different depths. Putting anything on the front of them was super uneven. So throughout the project, it just caused so many other issues. In addition to them being hard to put on the wall themselves, they also made everything else that got attached to the wall in front of them difficult to put on. With the gaps being different, they don't look as nice and finished and polished as I want. They look a little bit more rustic. That would be a great, if you were working on a rustic farmhouse cabin or raw wood situation, these would be a great option. But for what I was going for, something more modern and sleek and finished and refined, these were not it. The primed ones were great. I wish I would have taken the extra time to drive to the other store to get those, because like I said, this was my biggest regret. They look awful. They were such a pain in the butt. So my word of advice is, for a nice, clean, polished look, do not use these. They are absolutely my biggest regret of the entire project. Because they're running vertically and not horizontally, not each board is going to be able to go into a stud. So I'm going to be using construction adhesive, just liquid nails, along the back. And then I'll use nails to hold it into the wall while the glue, the construction adhesive, kicks in, so it holds really, really well. And then on the front of these will be our floating shelves, our desktop, and all of that, which will be nailed into studs. So those will also help hold these onto the wall. I will be doing my nails in like a V shape. So in the wall, I'll do one nail going this way and one going this way to help hold them in place really well while the construction adhesive cures. Now there's a couple ways you can do it. You can start from one edge and go over, or you can find the center and put your center board directly center on that and then work your way outward. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna find the center of my wall and line up the center of my center board with that, and then work outwards from there.
Take every brother and sister of mine. We roll in the sunshine and sleep when it's dark, hoping to find somewhere we can come. black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black, 'cause it's black, it's all black, black water. If I had some time, I'd be biting it well, but my house is on fire, there's no one left to tell. Just take what is given, the doors have been sealed. Just breathe in the poison and hope God is real. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. I'll pick you violet flowers if I get there faster than you. 'Cause it's mad.
Okay, so I used a combination of a jigsaw and then a multi-tool to make this happen. Honestly, this is like my 4th attempt at it and I finally got it. But this is 3.5 inches here by 29.25 tall.
The whole world's mad, 'cause it's mad, it's all mad, it's mad out there. 'Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black, 'cause it's black, it's all black, black water.
I have my pieces cut for my gaps in between where my full pieces of shiplap and the edge of the thing or the edge of the cabinet are. So ignore the sawdust all over me. It took me a few tries to get these cuts right. It took me a lot of tries, actually. A lot of tries, a lot of sanding, a lot of cutting. Was not my favorite thing. However, doing it in segments like this was much easier than it would have been to work with a full piece. So I'm glad I did it this way still, even though it was very difficult. So I have 2 pieces that were the full length of my offcut, and then I have 1 piece that I cut shorter. I picked pieces that the edges are gonna line up nicely, hopefully, that's the idea. So that way I can go in and like wood fill the seams really well without there being like a noticeable difference. So these should lay pretty smoothly, pretty fleshly, and when I'm done like wood filling and painting and all of that, it should look like one piece. That's the hope. So I'm gonna put these up just like I did the rest of these, and then our shiplap will be done.
Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. Cause it's black, it's all black. Black water, oh, black water. Cause it's black, yeah, it's black. Oh, the water's black. Cause it's black, it's all black. Black water.
The shiplap is done. Now you can see the 3 pieces on each side, and you can probably see like some difference in gaps along the edge, but those edges will be caulked, so you won't see those big gaps. However, the transition between 2 boards like this edge lines up really nicely, so that when I would fill this, you won't know that this is 2 different pieces. And I made sure to do that on every section. They're lined up really nicely like that, so when I would fill them, it looks like one piece, and then all these gaps on the side here will be caulked really well. So before I do the face frames, I want to go ahead and take care of the desktop. So I went ahead and made this frame. I just used pocket holes to attach it. It's just to sit in here inside this to give some extra support for the desktop. So it'll slide in, and then I'll screw it into the studs in the wall and the side cabinets to give support for the top of the desktop. Although the desktop is sturdy, it's I'm just using 3/4 inch plywood, so although it will be sturdy, I wanted to give that extra brace since there will be a computer sitting on top of it. Someone might rest their elbows. Like, I just wanted as much support as possible. And then also when I do the face frame across the front, I want to have some more points to nail into rather than just the top of these side cabinets. I wanted something along the front to nail into as well. So I made that frame just using 1x2s. I also went ahead and cut the desktop. So this is 66 inches of 3/4 plywood that I cut the entire width from that side cabinet to this side cabinet here. So it'll span the whole length, all 66 inches. I mitered this edge at 45 degrees. So when I do the face frame, I didn't want any lines or seams or anything like that. So this is gonna sit on top of this. And then I have another piece that is mitered at a 45-degree angle. I say mitered, I ran it through my table saw at 45 degrees. So, and then they're just gonna join up like this, lining up those 45-degree cuts. That way it'll be one seam here that I will wood fill and sand, and that way it's not like the edge of my plywood and then like a seam and then the rest, or on the top side, I don't have like a little piece here, 3/4 inch in, and then the rest, the seam there. I just wanted the one nice mitered edge. Side here is 3 inches, and then our 45 degree. To get the measurement for my desktop, I actually measured from the wall to the front of the cabinet, and that is this measurement here on the short side. So, because I want this 45 degree to stick out further, so that way this piece can butt up next to it and sit on front of the cabinet as a face frame as one long piece across the entire desktop. So I'm gonna get to work putting the desktop on, and then I will get to the base framing. Oh, also, while I was cutting the desktop, I also went ahead and cut my shelves that go in here, the 3 shelves for each side. I went ahead and cut all 6 pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in so we have shelves, and I'm gonna do the desktop, and then I'll do all the face framing on everything. I went in and marked where I knew that my studs were in the wall, so I knew where to screw my support into. I dry fit the support in place and drilled pocket holes in each of the studs, as well as in 2 places on the sides. In the back, I used 2.5 inch screws to make sure I got through the frame, the shiplap, the drywall, and into the stud. And on the sides, I used the same 1.5 inch cabinet screws that I did to attach my cabinets to the wall in my last video. To install my desktop, I applied wood glue generously on both of the side cabinets as well as across the brace. I slid it into place. I then went in underneath my cabinets and used the same 1.5 inch cabinet screws, being very careful not to screw through the top of my desktop. I then took a leap of faith and did a sit test to make sure it would hold my weight, then placed dumbbells in the center to really hold it down while the glue dried.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand.
All right, our desktop is done. Now, as you can see, I already did the face frame on one side over there. Now I'm gonna work on it on the other side and the 2 front cabinets here. So the way I'm gonna do these front cabinets is, this is our mitered edge board. This is gonna go all the way across, and then I'll have the face frames come down on each side, and then the piece on the bottom in front. When you do face frames, typically you do the 2 vertical pieces first, and then the middle pieces run in between those. But I broke that rule on this side cabinet. The bottom runs all the way across, and the top is gonna run all the way across. And then the vertical pieces are sandwiched in between those. And then you can see here on this piece that it is sandwiched in between the 2 vertical pieces, as is that one there. This, I'm essentially doing the same thing, except for I'll be doing this piece vertically, and then I'll run my side pieces all the way to the ground, and then I will sandwich the bottom piece in between the two side pieces. So that's the only thing I'm doing differently here, but I wanted this as one continuous board. I didn't want any seams along the front. So that's why I'm doing it that way. I'm kind of breaking that rule a little bit. I'm gonna start with my second side face frame here. I have my bottom piece that runs all the way across, and then I have my 1x3 by 8 foot plywood that's gonna go against the wall here to cover our gap over there. And then our 1x2 is going to go here on this side. So this side would be thinner than that side. I didn't want an overlap here. Sometimes you can do a 1/4 inch overlap on the outside of your cabinet. I didn't want that. I wanted this flush, and then I'm gonna come in with wood filler and fill it really nicely since it's getting painted. I don't want that seam there, so I'm gonna do it flush. But the reason I'm not doing these, the 1x3 and the 1x2 all the way to the bottom and then sandwiching the top and bottom in between those, is because of the length of these. If I did that, I would have to use 2 boards and have like a seam in the middle or a seam somewhere. Whereas if I have the bottom and the top span the whole width of the cabinet, both of these fit perfectly in between those in one long run. So one saves me on material. Instead of having to use 2 of each of these boards to make that length, I just have 1 on each side that runs the whole length. Also aesthetically, it diminishes any chance of any seams. Of course, I would fill all seams anyway, but this really will help reduce the look of those potentially, like if they're not perfectly even. I just won't have them at all since I won't be joining anything together. So let me show you what I'm talking about a little bit better. So you can see here on the bottom that I have a 1x6 that runs all the way across from one side to the other. And then on either side, I will set these guys on top of the 1x6, and then up top there will be another 1x6. So these vertical pieces are sandwiched in between the horizontal pieces, and you can see it goes right up to the top, leaving just enough room for another 6-inch piece on top, which that 6-inch piece will stick up above the cabinet and give us something to nail our crown molding into when we do that. So on this side over here that I've already done, I have not done that top piece yet. That's gonna come later. Since my vertical pieces, my stiles, were the exact length I needed, the only cuts that I had to make were for my horizontal pieces, the rails. I drilled 2 pocket holes at the bottom of each one of my rails to attach them to my 1x6 bottom piece. And then I also drilled 2 pocket holes in each side of my rails where they connected into my stiles. Where my 1x2 rails connected to my 1x2 stiles, I could use my right angle clamp to hold them in place. However, with the 1x3 side, the board was not big enough to fit inside the clamp. So I had to make sure my marks were super precise, and I held it in place really well before screwing it all together. That was also the case for my bottom piece. The 1x6 would also not fit in the clamp, so I also had to just apply wood glue and hold it in place while I screwed it together. Although I would have preferred to use clamps for everything, this method did work, and all my angles were 90 degrees in the end.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time.
To attach the face frame, I marked where my spacer pieces were between the side of the cabinet and the wall on the inside of the cabinet, so I knew where I had some extra areas to nail in.
Easy we go, easy, easy on our tiptoes.
fit it in, and it's like a perfect fit, thankfully. So right now it's just being held up by the tension between the cabinet and the wall. There's no nails. And I'm going in with a pneumatic nail gun, 18 gauge, 2-inch nails, and nailing in. So I'm just gonna do that all along those places on the side where the gap is, where I have marked the 2 places. I'm gonna make sure to add 2 there. So I'm just going all around and make sure to really nail it in good. I'll level as I go to make sure everything stays level as I'm working, but I'm gonna go ahead and just nail all of that in. At this point in the project, I was so proud and so excited to start to see my vision come to life. Excuse you. Excuse you. This is Maple. She is our miniature dachshund. She's almost 2, hence why some of my branding has a dachshund on it. She is the littlest clater and she's very needy. So I know you will certainly see her again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're getting a better idea of what the InDesign is going to look like. I hope you'll consider subscribing and coming back to watch the rest of the series as I finish out these built-ins, trim out the room, and bring in furniture and decor. Coming up in the next video, I am tackling the floating shelves, filling in the top structure above those built-ins, and going ahead and painting everything out. Until then, I'm wishing you all my best. What are you doing? Huh, she's just walking. She's just walking. We're gonna get started with the floating shelves. Equals. Just had a little minty bee.
Something about me has changed. Something about me has changed. I'm sleeping just fine without you. Didn't know I could. Something about me feels strange. Something